Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into an awesome Roblox game that's been getting a lot of attention lately, Dead Cells. If you've been playing this game, you probably know how important it is to pick the right class to survive those intense matches, whether you're going solo or teaming up with your friends. So in today's video, I'm bringing you the ultimate Dead Cells classes tier list. And we're going from the worst to the best, so you'll know exactly which classes to avoid and which ones to aim for. Now, full disclosure, I haven't personally tested out all these classes myself, but I've done a ton of research, watched gameplay, and gathered info from the Dead Cells community to put together this tier list for you guys. So everything I'm sharing today is based on what I've learned about the game and how these classes seem to perform. Before we jump into the tier list, let's quickly talk about what Dead Cells is for anyone who might be new to the game. Dead Cells is a Roblox survival game where your main goal is to stay alive as long as possible, either on your own or with a team. You're dropped into this creepy world filled with mutants, zombies, and some seriously tough bosses, and you've got to use your weapons, strategy, and class abilities to make it through. Alright, we're starting at the very bottom with D tier. These are the classes that seem to be the weakest in Dead Cells, and you might want to avoid them unless you've got no other option. In D tier, we've got the Pirate. Now, the name sounds pretty cool, and you might think a pirate class would be awesome in a game like Dead Cells, but from what I've seen, it's really not. The pirate's only ability is to increase your boat's speed by 20 mph. At first glance, that might sound like a decent perk, but when you think about how Dead Cells works, it's pretty much useless. In this game, you're usually better off moving slowly and carefully to avoid getting overwhelmed by enemies. That extra speed from the pirate doesn't seem to make a big enough difference to matter, especially since you'll likely be spending most of your time fighting or looting, not sailing around. Based on what I've learned, the pirate just doesn't bring much to the table, which is why it's sitting at the bottom of our tier list in D tier. If you've got the pirate, you might want to save your doubloons and try to get a better class with a lucky spin. Next up, we've got C tier. These classes are a bit better than D tier, but they're still not anything to write home about. In C tier, we've got the Miner. From what I've gathered, the Miner isn't completely useless, but it's definitely not a class you'd want to rely on for most situations. The Miner's ability gives you 4 dynamites when you spawn, which can be useful for clearing out houses filled with mutants or zombies. It also seems like it could be decent in boss fights since those dynamites can deal a good amount of damage. That sounds like it could come in handy in specific scenarios, like when you're dealing with a big group of enemies. But the downside is that once you've used up those dynamites, the Miner doesn't seem to offer much else. You're basically left as a regular player with no special abilities to help you survive longer. That's why the Miner lands in C tier. It has its moments, but there are definitely better options out there. Now we're getting into B tier. These classes seem to be pretty decent, and they can be useful depending on how you like to play. First up in B tier, we've got the Medic. This class looks like it's great for team play because it's all about healing. The Medic can heal both themselves and their teammates, and it uses healing items more efficiently, meaning you don't burn through your supplies as quickly. That sounds like a fantastic ability if you're playing with friends, especially during tough boss fights where keeping everyone alive is a priority. However, if you're playing solo, the Medic might not be as strong since it's more of a support class. Still, for players who enjoy being the team healer, the Medic seems like a solid choice for B tier. Next, we've got the Gunslinger, which appears to be one of the best classes for beginners. When you spawn with the Gunslinger, you get a pistol and a decent amount of ammo right from the start, which gives you a big advantage early in the game. That means you don't have to worry about scrambling for a weapon, and you can start taking out enemies right away. It doesn't seem like the most powerful class in the late game, but for new players who are just getting started with Dead Cells, the Gunslinger looks like a great option, which is why it's in B tier. Moving on, we've got the Priest. This class seems to be really good for dealing with tough situations, especially when you're up against a lot of enemies. The Priest can use the Crucifix item to kill NPCs, which sounds super helpful for clearing out big groups of mutants or zombies. That ability could be a lifesaver in boss fights or when you're getting swarmed by enemies. It doesn't seem to be the most versatile class, but it's definitely a solid option for B tier based on what I've learned. Finally, in B tier, we've got the Rich. As the name suggests, this class is all about money. The Rich lets you earn more cash and buy essential equipment like coal, weapons, and healing items. It also has an ability where you can use the Crucifix item to kill any NPC for free, which sounds pretty useful in a pinch. The Rich seems like a great choice for players who want to focus on resource management and saving up for better gear. It might not be the most exciting class to play, but it looks like it gets the job done, which lands it in B tier. Alright, now we're getting into the good stuff. A tier. these classes seem to be really strong, and they're just a small step below the absolute best in the game. First up in A tier, we've got the Screw Loose. This class is all about speed, and from what I've seen, it looks like a lot of fun to play. The Screws Loose lets you move super fast while looting items, which makes it great for clearing out an area quickly. If you pair that speed with something like a grenade, you could probably wipe out a whole room of enemies in seconds before moving on to the next one. That kind of mobility sounds amazing, especially for players who like to play aggressively and keep moving. The Screw Loose might not be the strongest in a straight-up fight, but that speed makes it a fantastic choice for A tier. Next in A tier, we've got the Pyromancer. This class is all about fire, and it seems like a total game changer. The Pyromancer's ability lets you convert items into fuel, which sounds super useful for keeping your team stocked up on resources. On top of that, the Pyromancer has fire-based attacks that can deal serious damage to enemies. That makes it a great support class for team play. You can keep your squad fueled up while also burning down any mutants that get too close. The Pyromancer looks really versatile. It's great for supporting your team, but can also hold its own in a fight. If you're looking for a class that can do a bit of everything, the Pyromancer seems like a solid A tier pick. Now we've reached the top of the list. S tier. These are the absolute best classes in Dead Cells, and if you've got one of these, you're probably in for a great time. Let's break them down. First up in S tier, we've got the Trader. Now, the Trader might not sound like the most exciting class at first, but from what I've learned, it's a total game changer. The Trader's ability lets you sell items for a higher value, which means you can farm doubloons much faster than with any other class. In Dead Cells, money is super important. You need it to buy better weapons, healing items, and even more classes. With the Trader, you can stack up cash quickly and afford all the best gear in no time. That sounds perfect for players who like to plan ahead and focus on resource management. Plus, if you're playing with a team, the Trader can help fund the whole squad with extra cash. It might not be the most combat-focused class, but its ability to generate money makes it an S-tier pick. And finally, the class that seems to be the best in Dead Cells, the Necromancer. This class sounds absolutely incredible, and it's easy to see why it's considered the top class in the game. The Necromancer's ability lets you summon dead enemies to fight for you. Basically, you can build your own little army of undead minions to take on mutants, zombies, and even bosses. That sounds like it would be a game changer in tough situations, especially during boss fights where those extra summons can tank damage while you focus on dealing as much DPS as possible. The Necromancer seems perfect for players who love to jump into the action and fight head-on. The only downside is that it's super rare. With that 0.2% legendary drop rate, you might need to burn through a lot of lucky spins to get it. But based on everything I've seen, the Necromancer is worth the effort, which is why it's at the top of our S tier. And there you have it, guys. If you found this tier list helpful, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm planning to do more Dead Cells content soon, like a guide on the best weapons and items in the game, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.